Hello boys and girls, my name is Eduardo and today we're going to learn about verbs followed by gerunds or infinitives. Well, this topic is going to be relevant whenever we have two verbs together. But don't think about auxiliaries and main verbs. We are not talking about two verbs together in the continuous or the perfect tense, etc. Okay, we're not talking about the relationship between auxiliaries and main verbs. We're talking about verbs, okay, in whatever tense you want, that are followed by another verb, okay? Because that verb is talking about the activity, like swimming or singing or cooking, okay? Well, and it is important to consider for this topic, it is important that you remember that the first verb, whatever the verb is, okay, the first verb is going to determine the form of the second verb, okay? So it depends on the first verb that you have. Remember that that first verb can be in any tense, okay? It depends on the first verb, the form that the second verb will take. All right? Let's start with the simplest of verbs, like hate, love, prefer, and start. These five verbs are followed by either the gerund or the infinitive. It doesn't really matter. And we're not going to have any difference in the meaning. Okay? So it's going to be the same to say I like swimming than saying I like to swim. Okay? You can say I will start running or I will start to run. And it doesn't really change the general meaning of our sentence. Okay? So, if your verbs like hate, love, prefer, and start are followed by another verb, that verb will be either in the ing form, the gerund form, or the infinitive form. Remember that the infinitive is preposition to plus the simple form of the verb. Okay? And it won't really matter in terms of the meaning. It's going to be the same meaning. Okay? Now let's go to the majority of verbs. Most of the verbs will have a specific preference. I always think a little bit like sexual preferences, you know? Some people like girls, some people like boys. And that's correct. It depends on the person, you know? It's going to be the same for verbs. It depends on the first verb, the form that the second verb is going to take. All right? These are some examples, okay, of verbs that are followed by the ing. Okay? If you have any of these verbs in any tense and they have to be followed by another verb, that second verb will be in the gerund form. Okay? So miss, avoid, consider, mind, suggest, and any other of the verbs that I presented here, or that are not here, of course, okay, are going to be followed by the ing form. There is no specific rule, okay? There are a list of verbs. These are lists of verbs that you have to remember, okay? Well, next, let's go to some verbs. Let's see some verbs that are followed by the infinitive form. If you have verbs like agree, decide, promise, learn, want, or any others of the ones that I present you in here, they should be followed by an infinitive form. Okay? I agreed to work. I agreed to go. I decided to be. I promised to help. Okay? It is always going to be followed, they are always going to be followed by infinitive forms. Okay? You cannot use the ing, that is incorrect. Okay? But it depends on the first verb. Okay? that the second verb is going to be either in the ing or the infinitive form. Okay? Now, this is not the end of the story, of course. This is English. We will always have exceptions to the rules. Okay? There are some verbs, there are particular verbs that are followed by the simple form of the verb. Okay? Not infinitive, not ing. Okay? Verbs like all of the modal verbs can, could, should, will, would, etc. Okay? They are not followed by either ing or infinitive. You already know that we use the simple form of the verb. Okay? But verbs also like make or let are going to be followed by the simple form of the verb. Okay? Not ing, not infinitive. Okay? Modal verbs, verb make or verb let, will be with the simple form of the verb. Alright? Finally, we will have a fourth group of verbs that can be followed by either one of them, ing or infinitive, but these verbs will have a change in meaning. Okay? This is something that we are going to delve a little bit deeper into it in another video. Okay? I don't want to spend that much time in here. But consider verbs like remember, forget, stop or continue, or verbs like try or need. Okay? These verbs are going to be followed, they can be followed by either an ing or an infinitive, but there's going to be a difference in meaning. That means that depending on the context, depending on what you want to say, you're going to choose one or the other. Okay? Okay, all of these rules that I have just presented are somewhat random because we don't have a specific rule to know if these verbs should be with ing or that other verb should be with the infinitive form. Okay? There are a list of verbs. Okay? There are a big list of verbs that you have to kind of remember. But if I have to give you a tip, is this. Every time that you have a preposition, you will usually have an ing before or after a preposition. Okay? So things like I'm afraid of, then is going to be together with an ing. I am talking about, ing. Okay? Or for example, words like before or after, then they are going to be followed by ing. Okay? It is very, very common to have ings after prepositions. Alright? Well, don't forget to study, don't forget to subscribe, and thumbs up. See you next class.